This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and review. What I'm looking at today is 2018's The Night Ate the World, which is a horror film, a zombie film in particular, directed by Dominique Rocher. And this is a movie, in some ways, you've seen before. Never mind, it's a zombie film. You've seen this movie before, even if you haven't seen it really. Why is that? Because it's very much in the vein of Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later. And when I say in the vein, I'm being kind. It's almost, in some ways, like a copy of Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later, even down to the poster for the movie, as you can see. Normally this type of thing bothers me, and I would probably be a bit ranty at this point, but I'm not. Reason being, as I said, it seems very much inspired by that movie, perhaps too much. But the most interesting thing about it is that it goes its own way. It's a different movie, despite being very similar to 28 Days Later. Let me explain. Oh, I should have mentioned also, they begin in very similar ways. In 28 Days Later, if you recall, Cillian Murphy wakes up in a hospital and he eventually makes his way outside and he is immediately thrown into a world occupied by mainly zombies. Well, rage zombies. They're technically not zombies. They're people infected by a virus, but it's all part of the zombie genre. And so he has to find any remaining humans and try to survive. The Night Eats the World, it begins with a party. Someone oversleeps, wakes up into the exact same conditions that Cillian Murphy did. As I said, it feels very much a part of that movie. And as it progresses, the survivor, who I referred to, starts to go a bit nutty. He doesn't go insane, but he starts to lose his grip on reality because there's no one else alive that he can find to keep him centered, to keep him whole. And it takes perspectives that 28 Days Later didn't, and in fact most zombie movies don't take. It's pretty much the story of this one man trying to move beyond what he knows to be safe, because as he eventually learns, what he calls safe isn't safe for long. So he has to leave, but he's also very reluctant to do so because it's all the safety he's known, and he's less concerned about the outside world initially, but eventually he comes to the conclusion that he can't live this way. He can't live alone, slowly going bonkers. So as I said, it goes to places that most zombie films don't spend a lot of time in. It's violent, but not overly so, because that's not the point of it. It's more of a story about moving beyond what makes you comfortable. Even in terrible times, sometimes you just gotta take a chance. And when you look at it that way, it's not a copy of 28 Days Later. It is certainly very similar, but by no means a copy. It does stand on its own, and it's an interesting movie. It's very well acted, it's very well shot, and it's a joy to watch. Well, as much of a joy as you're ever going to get from a zombie film, really. Which is to say that if you like the genre, it works for you. If you don't, it's probably going to freak you out a little bit. But that being said, I started this review with saying that, at least initially, it came off like a copy. It's not. It exists in the same universe despite being in another country. It takes place in France. 20 Days Later, it takes place in the UK. It is still very much connected. And that's a fascinating thing to see. Do I think that Dominique Rocher had any type of connection, communications with Danny Boyle, and his movie is somehow a spiritual successor, if not a continuation perhaps, of 28 Days Later? Probably not. But it does enough at the same time that makes it novel, that makes it unique. And that's a very risky way to go. The night that eats the world is worth surviving. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree? Do you disagree? You're here. Why not consider either a like or a follow? Peace.